Well, last week, Tawana Bain of Today's Woman magazine introduced us to Ashley Anderson, a doctor, entrepreneur, and friend of Tawana. They had a tumultuous relationship, just a little background for a little bit, but they learned an important lesson through that process. Here's part 2 of their story.
I'm here with Ashley Anderson, and we are unfolding the X and the City column that is now featuring in the April issue. We left off with God will shake your foundation. And so there's this little voice that's nagging at you and showing you all these red signs. And what I typically believe is that when we don't wake up to some of those calls, he will make us wake up. What was your true wake up moment, and what was that like, and how did you navigate?
The moment when I knew I had to leave was my oldest son, Atlas, who at the time was 3 years old, grabbed my face and said, "Mommy, you're sad. Why are you sad?" And in that moment, I realized that this was bigger than me. It was bigger than my feelings. It was bigger than how much I greatly desired to never be divorced. It was greater than image or what people would think. It was about growing up and my children growing up in a home where they really understood love, where they really understood what it means to do what it takes to protect your family. They did not need to grow up in that dysfunction. They just didn't. And for me, that was the line in the sand. Like, I do not care how I feel. I honestly don't care how you feel about it, but these two will not grow up in that environment, and that was it for me.
For those of you that are just tuning in with us, I am here with Ashley Anderson, and we are discussing her recent divorce and what transpired. We're not going to go too deep. We want you to head on over to todayswomannow.com, pick up the issue, flip through it, head over to the divorce column, and read the story further. And stay with us each month as we unfold layer by layer. So you did wake up, though, and you found your voice. What is some advice that you would give to other women who are finding themselves sad all the time, visibly sad, not just to their children, but to their friends or their coworkers, and they're struggling inside? What are some words of wisdom or of encouragement?
I think the first thing I would say is understanding that we get one of these lives. We don't get a repeat, and you deserve to be happy. You deserve to have peace. You deserve to live in abundance. That is not negotiable. So beyond what you're teaching your kids, what are you teaching other women when you stay in a situation that you know is not right for you, but you're doing it for whatever reason or whatever fears there are out there? It's trusting your gut and really being transparent in your assessment, and also listening to your sisters, because I don't know how many of my good friends were like, "You've shrank. You're shrinking yourself intentionally to stay in this space, and we see it, and we're worried about you. We love you. Why?" And I think we have to listen to those things, internalize them, and really assess what you're doing, because happiness and peace and the ability to pursue your greatness without fear, there is no price on that.
Why do you think you allowed yourself to shrink?
So I waited until I was 33 to get married. It was very intentional because, my parents married and divorced. My dad married and divorced a couple of other times, and I just didn't want to do that. I grew up in a family, with 2 homes, and I know how hard it was for me. I know how hard it was for my mother, for my brother, and I just did not want that for my children. I'm also a very strong believer in God and the Bible, and for me to say, I promised before God that I'm going to marry you until death, I meant that. So I felt like whatever it took to make this work, I was going to give 100% of me, where I knew it wasn't my fault. So it just was really difficult, and it took prayer challenge, fast. I did the 40-day Love Dare. I spent a lot of time with my pastor, F. Bruce Williams, in spiritual counsel, just to get to the point of understanding what God ordained marriage to be versus what I was experiencing were 2 entirely different things. So, there were so many layers to that, so many layers of fear and insecurity and shame and family and the kids and image, like all of those things that really went into that decision, and also why it took so long.
But we see you, sis. You've bounced back. You've repaired sisterhood. You've repaired your faith. You've repaired your future and what you're heading into in this next season. There are so many women out there that may have a fractured relationship. As we mentioned going into this segment, pick up the phone, call your girl. It's okay to fall on the sword. Friendships and sisterhood is worth saving. And it's not worth, as you mentioned, your happiness and your peace, non-negotiables. Dig in with us further at todayswomannow.com.